Hi, everyone. It's Justin Paperny, and I'm very grateful to be with you. And I know you're all so busy with so many things competing for your attention. So I'm just really grateful you allowed me to teach you and your family as you traverse this journey. I've said before, probably the last thing you want to do is end up on my channel. Though you're here, and I'm going to do my best to educate and teach you. Before we get started, I occasionally get some emails from people who have read my book, Lessons from Prison, which of course you can get for free. And they ask if I was a good baseball player, or they saw that I play baseball at USC. And at one time I was a very good baseball player, but the skills have totally gone away. In fact, recently I'll start to play it here on the left. I played in the annual alumni baseball game at USC. And to show you how I have no skills left, Marcel Latchman, who was a former Angels baseball coach at the USC alumni game, was pitching. And as you can see, he must have been throwing 40 miles an hour. I had no chance to hit it. But it was fun to go back to USC, and my wife and little girl were watching me play baseball. So that was a lot of fun. But my time now is spent working with my family and, of course, taking care of good clients and hopefully creating value that will have you continue to come back. So I'm going to talk about this blog, Tips for Going from Prisoner to Entrepreneur. I wrote this blog back in December. One of the things I don't think I put in this blog, in fact, I know I didn't because I'm going to kind of read from the blog, was the idea of overcoming negative feedback. You have to understand, as a convicted felon, there's a sense of otherness that comes with a felony conviction. It's not like cancer, where some didn't choose to have cancer. I lost an aunt years ago to cancer. She didn't choose to have that. With a felony conviction, I chose to make bad decisions. I chose to break the law. I chose to create victims. And as a result of that, there isn't as much sympathy. Then when you go into a space where you talk about your crime or try to rebuild, there are some people who may not like your approach, who want to bring you down. In fact, I got a call a couple of days ago from someone, and do a little bit on Instagram and stuff like that. Oh, here's one of my mentors, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Gotta have mentors. Kareem was at my wedding, endorsed my book. Wonderful person. We've never once talked basketball. Ever once. He gives me some of the best lessons on business and life. So grateful to call him a friend. So someone read my book and called and found it disgusting. They said that I represent people. I work with criminals. So I came across this Winston Churchill quote: "You have enemies, good. That means you've stood up for something sometime in your life." So I say to you, sometimes you got to take a stand, and that may upset some people. And I deal with that now, many years in to my career. Forgive me as my cell phone rings. Many years into my career, even now I'm embroiled and I'm suing a competitor who said some awful things about me, tried to do it anonymously, made up a character. I had to sue him, subpoena him. I'm actually going to be filming like a little movie about the whole experience with court records and his responses and everything. So I'm going to be going live with that here soon. But why would someone do that? They try to take me down. They want to hurt me. They want to advance their agenda at my interest. And you got to try to hold people accountable. Never forget, it's not what people say, it's what they do. And that's why evidence is so compelling. If someone says they can do something, back it up. If someone says they didn't do something, show them the evidence. And certainly I intend to do all of that with respect to this case. And just generally speaking, if you're going to be an entrepreneur and overcome this felony conviction, you got to learn to talk about it. So let's transition to number one. Setting a productive routine. One thing about entrepreneurship is that it does not exactly lend itself to a good work-life balance. Depending on the reasons you were or are in prison, it could be even more important for you to have a routine to avoid falling back on certain habits. Set aside specific times every day for exercising, checking email, and focusing on the business. Going into your venture with a plan that helps you stay stable. So, of course, there have probably been 7 million books that have been written about setting a productive routine, but I can tell you, you don't want to become an entrepreneur when you come home from prison. There's this misbelief that you cannot build a business in prison. I know the policies. I know the BOP policy. I have clients building businesses with staff knowing it. I know how to traverse the system, as do my clients. So for those of you who think, I need to wait till I come home, you're wasting a golden opportunity to build your business. Again, it's not what people say, it's what they do. If someone says they can build a business or they can teach you how to build a business, show them how they did it. Certainly when I work with clients, I show them other clients who have done it, other clients who are doing it. I connect them so they can learn from one another. So that all comes back to setting a productive routine, both now and when you're in prison. I frequently said exercising in dosages that you can maintain. If you want to watch some TV in prison, that's fine. Have it as an emotional release or a benefit after working very hard. A big part of having a successful prison routine is changing habits. It's not getting excited because in time you're excited, you have an idea. If you have a bad day or some bad news, you stop. It's creating habits. And it all starts with a productive routine. And I've filmed videos and written blogs about my daily routine in prison. I woke early, I worked hard, I pushed myself. And on days that I didn't want to do it, here was the key: I did it anyway. So did my mentor, Michael Santos, my partner, so 26 years in prison. Right? There have been some people that have knocked my accomplishments and said, oh, you were privileged, you went to USC, you only served 18 months, you had a lot of connections, you probably came home with a lot of money. So in an effort to diminish my achievements, they make it seem as if my success was, it was easy. So even if you want to knock my accomplishments and everything I've been through, that's fine. How can you knock Michael Santos? How can you knock Michael Santos's productive routine through 26 years in prison and getting an undergraduate and a master's degree, and writing books and building a business and emerging with a network that anyone, prison or non-prison, would admire? Why? Because he started small, which leads to number two. If you were like many people, you need money as quickly as possible. If you were like many people, you want to make money as quickly as possible. You don't have time to waste. Before you focus on money, begin to think about rebranding and creating a new record, as Shon did. Shon, we'll talk about Shon in a second. Rather than ask, what can I do now to make money? They asked, what small thing can I do today to make a difference in the life of someone else? From there, opportunities open for them. There are people that call me and say, hey, dude, I want to write a blog like you. How much will it pay me? And I say, nothing. So, okay. Hey, man, I want to come home and speak like you and get paid. When will I make money? You won't. Probably won't. You don't get rich public speaking. I've lectured all over the country: USC, KPMG, Wells Fargo, the FBI Academy, Securities America, NYU, everywhere. Make some money, but I did 100 talks for free because I was authentic. I wanted to give back and help people understand the consequences of violating ethics, of helping them understand how people can lure you in under the guise of ethics. The irony is that people who say they're the most ethical are usually the ones you have to watch out for the most. So I derived a sense of pleasure and satisfaction in helping others understand. But how did I begin? I started small by doing what Michael Santos taught me to do, which is pulling out a Bic pen in prison and writing a blog. I wasn't thinking about money or being a prison consultant or building a career as a speaker or launching a nonprofit foundation. My motives were actually good. I just wanted to help someone, which is something I hadn't done for a long damn time because I was a selfish, entitled, arrogant kid in my 20s who only thought about one person, Justin. I started small by writing a blog. Then I got a little bigger. I began to read bigger books and I began to grow my vocabulary. And people began to respond to my blog. And in time, did I become opportunistic? Maybe, I guess. I mean, I had to find a way to support myself when I came home. Is it opportunistic that after writing hundreds of blogs and giving hundreds of lectures, that people deemed that I was good at something, that perhaps I could command a wage for it because I was shortening the learning curve of people after having invested tens of thousands of hours into this process of cracking the code? I think so. My father taught me if you're good at something, you should get paid, but you have to show why you are worthy of getting paid. How did it start for me? It started small. So for all of you, I know you want to make the money. I know you want to build a business. I know you want to emerge from this wretched system successfully. Start small. And it can't be driven just by money. And I don't have the answer if it is, what should I do? What should I do? You have to start. And then you have to build up a record. Then you have to know how to pivot. And that's why having mentors are so important. I have a lot of mentors. I mentioned having, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as a mentor. And when I came home, I was discussing with him what I was doing, and he listened objectively and gave me advice. And I won't get into the full details of the story, but he gave me advice one time, and he was right on. I said, it's time for me to pivot. But had I not started small in a totally different direction years earlier, I wouldn't have had an opportunity to pivot. So start small. Write a letter to someone in your network. Send a thank you note. Read a new book. Develop a new routine. Take a course. Start small if you want to become an entrepreneur both in and out of prison. Number 3, own your experience. You can choose to hide that you used to be in prison, but in many circumstances, being open about your experience boosts your business prospects. Consumers love businesses that are driven by compelling stories and people. Plus, there were skills that you likely learned or honed in federal prison, such as tenaciousness, observation, and collaboration that you can put to use. I believe that. I've lived it, and so have my clients. Are there people out there who hire reputation management firms to try to push down their press releases to pretend it didn't exist? Yes, I'm not a proponent of that. Are there people that can tell you that they can move these results down? I suppose. That doesn't work for me, and generally my clients pursue a different approach. We're humans. We're fallible. Perhaps one thing about that the criminal justice system does is it exposes our greatest mistake in life by plastering our name along the internet. But you'd be surprised if you can own your experience, how many people are willing to give you an opportunity and a chance. But it can't be through rationalizations or denials. If you did it, you got to own it. You got to talk about it. I read this great article about Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook. He hired someone that he met at San Quentin to run the coding for his nonprofit. This is a man that he met in jail. We are capable of second chances if earned, and I think you have an easier chance. And frankly, you can really distinguish yourself if you can talk about it, if you can own it, if you can demonstrate what you've learned from this. I mean, I've been addressed on stage at some of the best business in America, and they've said, if we could hire Justin, we would. Unfortunately, he's not allowed to get a license. People have said, as a result of your experience, you know more than ever the consequences of illegal conduct or what it's like to act unethically. You are so aware and introspective. You're in a greater position than ever to work for us or help us. So own your experience, talk about it, don't run from it. In this day of Google and the internet, people are going to find out. So if you want to become an entrepreneur, set a productive routine. Start small. You don't have to have it all figured out today. If you go to prison thinking, oh my God, I got to leave with a book and a blog and money and get in shape and rebuild my family and my network and have a job in the halfway house and do this and pay back, you'll never get started. You will be so incredibly overwhelmed. Start small, own your experience. Second chances absolutely do exist. I think Michael Santos, and Shon Hopwood is a testament to that. Number 4, know your goals. Again, I know there have been 7 trillion books written on setting goals. I'm talking about for prisoners. Knowing your goals. And what did I write here? Setting goals is important because before you go into any venture, do you want to start a business mainly to pay the bills, to occupy your time? Identifying your goals helps you decide which ideas may or may not be worth pursuing. Keep your aims realistic. It is unlikely that your business will turn into an overnight millionaire. But as I wrote in Lessons from Prison, if you are authentic, deliberate, and embrace the slow and steady wins the race approach, you will succeed. When I got into public speaking, I knew that, like I said, you don't get rich public speaking. I did my first 100 events for free. I still do some talks for free because I want to help and give back. But my goal was to become a better speaker, to own my story, to deliver value to people. That was a goal of mine. It wasn't driven by money. In fact, I had a very lucrative public speaking career going back several years that was well north of 6 figures every single year. And I walked away from it. I began to turn down highly paid events. Why? It was a goal of mine to help more white-collar defendants immersed in the system. It was a goal of mine to help more of them, frankly, do better than I did and not be leveraged off by other consultants or exploited, or to work better with their lawyers, stuff that I talk about in my books and our programs. So it was a goal of mine to transition, even though it was a big hit financially, because I was turning down events with a wife and a baby on the way, and my wife is like, can you really afford to turn down a $7,000 speaking event back east? And I'm like, no. But it's a goal of mine to become the best in the world at this space of helping people prepare for prison and life after prison and branding and marketing. And I think it's part of the reason recently, because I knew my goals, that Michael Santos, my mentor, and Shon Hopwood, a mentor and my other business partner, officially invited me to partner with him. It's all because of I knew what my goals were many years ago, and it paid off, and I'm now part of a really wonderful team. Number 5, establish a support network. Many business owners need friendly faces to succeed. Your support network could be comprised of a pastor, a few family members, and friends you meet doing new activities. But you do need a network of some sort to get you through challenges and setback. So I filmed a video recently with Michael about growing your support network in prison. And I shared a story of a prisoner who came home who said his network was shunning him. And when I learned what he did in prison to grow his network, it made a whole lot of sense that he had no network because he did nothing to nurture it. So again, if you're in prison and you someday want to become an entrepreneur, it's going to be easier with a support network because you're not exactly going to go to a bank and get a loan. Hi, Wells Fargo, I'd like $100,000. Oh, really? You're a convicted felon. You can't even have an account here. So having a support network both to believe in you as a mentor, like Kareem does for me, having others to potentially invest and support your ideas, that has also been the case, with me. Funding nonprofits that we have, created to advance our work of reducing recidivism. You look at Michael, did a phenomenal job of doing that. Shon Hopwood, I talk about Shon now in our video. Shon served 12 years in prison, became a jailhouse lawyer recently on 60 Minutes, won a couple of cases in front of the Supreme Court. He's now a professor of law at Georgetown. Well, if you were to watch the 60 Minutes piece at the end, I believe Shon says something akin to, a lot of people helped him. It was the good grace of other people that believed in him. But that didn't happen by accident. He nurtured it. And you need support networks when times get tough, when people tell you you're crazy, your idea is terrible, no one's going to invest in it, nobody cares. People said that to me when I began to write a blog. In fact, my brother said, bro, I love you, but don't write about facilitating a Ponzi scheme. People think you're going to be Bernie Madoff light. I said, bro, I got to own my experience. As I come up to being an entrepreneur, I have a productive routine. I'm developing new skills. I started small, bro, with a blog, and it's working. I want to write a book. My goal is to help people better understand the consequences of felony convictions, and I need a support network to do that. I got to write. You don't know what it's like to be a convicted felon. Don't tell me what to do. I love you. I don't tell you how to run your business. Don't tell me how to run mine. So as I wrap this up, I know there's a million books written on this subject. If you want to go from prisoner to entrepreneur, you got to be reliant. You got to be disciplined. You got to know your tendencies. You got to know if someone's looking to exploit you, steal your idea, or just tell you it's a terrible idea because they don't want you to succeed. Misery loves company, especially in prison. If you have the haters, you got to learn to ignore them. You got to learn to move on, because at the end of the day, it's your life. At the end of the day, I don't want your sentence, whatever it is, to equate to a life sentence. I am convinced that being a convicted felon, if it sounds insane, and I'm not nuts, it presents incredible opportunities, because we have a perspective and a tolerance that doesn't exist, for others, and we have a story, and if we learn to tell it, we are compelling and different than so much of the noise that exists. So I could ramble. Excuse me, which was it? 6 o'clock. I get up at about 4 a.m. every day. I'm running out of juice here. I'm getting tired. I could ramble all day. So I say to all of you, I wish you all well. I'm very grateful that you watch this channel. If you're going to become an entrepreneur, don't wait until you come home. Start not just before you go to prison, not just in prison. Start before you go to prison. Start right now. Build a business. Begin marketing. Develop a skill set. I assure you, if I did it, if Michael Santos, who served 26 years in prison, can do it, if Shon Hopwood, who served 12 years in prison for robbing a bank, can do it, forget about me. Now, some people, they like to diminish what I did. That's totally cool. If Michael Santos and Shon Hopwood could do it, I assure you all of you can do it. And if this 12 or 15-minute video helps you get there, great. So let me close with a takeaway. Write down what your next what's your next step going to be? Do you have an idea? What's the next step? How can you start small? What habits you need to change? Are you ready to talk about your experience? What are your goals? And lastly, thank your support network for loving you and supporting you and standing by you. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to get more videos. Of course, you can grab my book, Lessons from Prison, for free at whitecollaradvice.com. And I wish you all well. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. Good night.